What it do, golf fans? Welcome back to the Turn Dogs Golf Podcast. This is Liam. Alongside me is Jack. Jack, we had a great week in golf. The best names came out, showed the best that I guess the tour has to offer. I can't say all of golf because but it showed the best tour had to offer. What'd you think of the week?
Well, shout out Scottie Scheffler. That was a
Oh,
dang good event. This is a hot take. This was the first event that I think the casual golf fan was genuinely able to sit down and enjoy the weekend.
100%. I agree. Yeah, absolutely. I think with the names on the top of the leaderboards, there was a lot of parity going on that it definitely brought in those additional eyes and the additional attention that Nick Dunlap, even though he won great a few weeks back, it just didn't bring, or Nick Taylor or any of those others.
Yeah, I mean, there are like 6 guys in the top 12 of the world rankings inside the top 10. That's always going to draw eyeballs, and
Yep.
It was really nice that, again, let me preface, love Wyndham Clark, love what he stands for, loves what he does. It was nice to me that obviously coming into at some points on Saturday, he had like a 6-7 shot lead.
Yep.
That would have been detrimental to the viewership.
100%.
Not saying that I wanted him to lose, but I did want it to be more competitive, and it definitely got that way. And my eyes were glued to that TV all day.
Yeah, I think Wyndham Clark he's a great winner, but he's not the kind of winner that brings the attention to the game that they might necessarily need right now. Whereas a Scottie definitely does that. I think Xander would have done that as well if he would have even won. I think Scottie, though, obviously brings the most eyes, which is always nice to see as a win. Was there anybody else in particular that either stood out in maybe a really good way or a really bad way as far as the week goes?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of guys that stood. I mean, listen, Scottie Scheffler, welcome back. I mean, that guy. First of all, let's not put it past this guy. If you take 5 minutes, everybody go down and listen to the interview that his caddy gave about the conversation he had with his wife at the end of round 2. He said, "I started looking at flights because I thought we were withdrawing." He could not draw the ball because of a neck. When you try to draw the ball, obviously you're pinching your shoulder. I'm a lefty, so it's opposite. We're both lefties, actually.
Yeah.
He couldn't do that. So TPC Sawgrass, as you know, if you watch, there are some holes where you're literally hitting a power draw to get position. Scottie couldn't do that. So not only that, he's hurt. Of course, I mean, first of all, that guy sucks at putting. Well, I think everybody in the world knows that. He put.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, I can't remember who said it, so don't quote me on this, but some PGA Tour golfer, I think maybe it was Rory, again, don't quote me, said if he can just be positive strokes gain in putting, he will win like 11 times a year. Like it's it's crazy.
I want to say like Keith Mitchell also talked about it on the broadcast because he hopped on at one point with Kisner and Smiley on 17 there, and they were doing like 15 minutes. They were shooting the shit, and I'm pretty sure Scottie was brought up at one point there. I don't know if that was the specific time where it came up, but Keith might have also thrown his hat into the ring in terms of talking about Scottie and his putter because again, it was impressive. He's found it.
I mean, there were stats. Let me just say, if you're new to golf, new to our podcast, first of all, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Secondly, there were stats even 2 weeks ago that was like first in driving, first in ball striking, first in accuracy, first in stroke skate approach, first in stroke skate, blah, 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 putting last. And he would still shoot 17 under over 4 days. Like, I don't think people realize, listen, he's number 1 player in the world for a reason. I don't think people realize what in the heck we're watching. And at some points, I don't either. Because I watch it, the guy has preface, everybody. Let me finish. He has a terrible swing, a terrible follow through. He has terrible putting. He has one of the worst short game strokes I've ever seen in my life. And he's the number 1 player in the world by a landslide.
I mean, he's gone on streaks that are small scales of what Tiger did. Now, again, small scales. Let me be clear. I'm not calling him Tiger. I'm not saying what he's doing is comparable to what Tiger did. But the small streaks that he's going on are the closest thing that we've seen probably since Tiger did it in like 2007?
I think you could make the argument that The only other guy to be in that Tiger conversation in terms of what he could have done is Brooks Koepka during his prime.
Yeah.
You could make that argument. But I do think Scottie Scheffler is approaching the Tiger-esque. The one thing I would like to see, and I think a lot of the casual golfers would like to see, is him kind of let his emotions fly a little bit more. It was nice, again, if you follow the PGA Tour and you watched, I think it was maybe their Instagram or maybe they posted something on their website of his actual reaction to winning. Like you could see him go from that competitive to, yes, like I like that, just different character switch that I think Patrick Cantlay does so well too. When he's on the golf course, he's level.
Yeah.
I don't want my mood. I am here. I'm zen. Once he's done, like Ryder Cup, 18th hole, he made that putt. He goes, I'm done. You saw everything fly. Once he's done, he's out of that zone.
Yeah, you need a little more animation out of Scotty. I agree. I think that is hopefully something that will come with time as he's more and more accustomed to this, assuming it keeps going. But let's leave Scotty at that, because again, I don't think this will be the last time we talk about Scottie Scheffler winning a tournament.
Yeah, for sure. Good Lord. Yeah, he's probably like a minus 500 to win again. Last thing I'll say about Scotty, if you had future bets on him in the Masters, congratulations, because right now he's 5-1 on most books.
He's 5-1 on the Masters?
5-1. 5-1, which is crazy because we're still 4 weeks away.
Yep.
The only guy that was coming into a tournament better than that, and he's in the conversation, my man Tiger Woods. At one point, let me just preface this. This is a real stat. In the betting era, Tiger Woods opened a Masters at minus odds to win. That's the last hit. Otherwise, I'll go on all day. Just sit with that thought for a second. Moment of silence for anybody that had to go against Tiger Woods in an event where a winner's pick was minus odds. Anyway,
I think he won it that year too. But yes. Anyways, let's continue onward. Who else are we going to talk about there?
Brian Harman. I will talk in detail about Brian Harman. He was spectacular. Xander Schauffele, again, I'm sorry. I'm basically going to get this tattooed on my forehead. Prove once again he's the most consistent golfer from tee to green.
Yep.
Wyndham Clark was a dog. Still shot 3 under on a really hard course. Hard to beat a guy that shoots 64. Fitzy came out, finally put 4 rounds together, which is really cool to see.
Yep.
Really nice to see Matsuyama play well, Aberg play well, Tagala play well, Bez play well. Maverick, yeah. He had the one thing I think about Maverick that was really interesting to watch. You could clearly tell pressure got to him Sunday.
Well,
he's got that over-the-top pitch, and that's something that they curated at Stanford, and that coaching staff really honed in on him because it allowed him to shallow out, kind of like a Victor Hovland. But you could tell he was just not fitting the timing on that, and he still cranked out an even par round.
You'll see it because I'll dig into it later. Maverick McNeely had maybe the second best strokes gained around the green on the PGA Tour this week in the last 3 years. So in any tournament, he had the third best strokes gained around the green metric of anybody in the last 3 years. And there have been some great performances, but I think he gained somewhere in the realm of like 9.5 strokes around the green based on the rest of the competition, which is just absurd. And that's why he was kind of able to stay in it. Because I agree. I think he kind of got the nerves, the yips, sure. One of those. Yeah. But
that's why they call it the fifth major. You get in the spot. No offense to any other tournament. This is not disrespect. But for example, not as many people know about the Valspar. Not as many people are tuning into the Valspar. Not as many people are showing up at a signature hole at Valspar. Like, they're not selling Valspar merch at the same rate that casual people on Google are buying players' merch. Like, it's just the reality of the situation. That guy's young.
Some of that is due to the fact that there's some college basketball going on this week. In my personal opinion, I think that's a little bit of a distraction.
If it was in July, it'd be the same
thing. But yes, same concept if it was in July. All right, we talked about some of the good guys. Anybody stand out in terms of losses, or do you just want to talk about them once we get into the
apparently every guy that I liked. So I thought it was interesting. There were a couple guys I've highlighted here. Justin Thomas. I thought from start something was off. I don't know if he was fighting something, not necessarily an illness, but more so like a swing pattern. It just looked like he was missing the sweet spot the whole day. I thought Eric Cole was an interesting one because I thought that course could have actually suited him because you don't need to hit the ball 400 yards. Spieth was another interesting one. I thought That would have been a really good one. Obviously, Matthew Pavon.
Yep.
That was a shocker. I'll talk about that in length. But the only other guy that was really, really shocking to see, I mean, in really, really crazy amount of shocking, honestly, was Will Zalatoris. Because he's proven when I'm one of the best ball strikers on planet Earth. And he kind of, for the last couple of weeks, has had his putting down. So to see him put 0 together was really scary to me, especially, and again, I know he dominates in those winner at -6 range, not necessarily -18 range, but that is a thing that he should have been. I mean, 4 over is not great for him.
I think in Zalatoris' mind, it was first big tournament of the year, like major style type tournament since the injury. Let's get through 4 rounds. I think that there was it looked like there was hesitancy from him to kind of send it and go for it. Now, again, do I think even if he goes for it, he probably ends up getting up there to 15, 16 under? No. But I think he probably could have made the cut and finished like T50th if he would have fully sent it. But I think he was a little nervous on that. So I agree he was disappointing. I think Benny On was honestly a little disappointing. He's not necessarily on the same tier of those guys, but he shot +7 on Friday and really just let it go. I mean, he did not have a chance after he decided to go his first couple holes. And then the last guy too, another guy that I just thought would do a little better was Eric Van Rooyen, because he had been coming in with some pretty good form. Not that I anticipated him to win, but I think a missed cut probably made sense as far as his eyes. So just something that was interesting on my end. All right, you want to get into DraftKings lineups here and see what we're looking at?
I sure do.
Okay.
Well, considering I had, especially in my DraftKings, Scottie Scheffler and Harmon, and had 2 guys miss the cut. No, 3 guys missed the cut. I still made money.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. That's the only way I could have made money, and let me just say, it was not a lot. The only way I could have made money is if I had 1 and 2, and I did. Thank the heavens. FanDuel, just to jump into it, I just basically hit only on 50-50s because thank God I had Scotty. Cantlay did not perform. JT, Pavon missed the cut, and then Bez and Taylor Moore both made the cut. Single entry was FanDuel was a lot harder than DraftKings. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, I was like the last person to make money on FanDuel. I'll start there, I guess. I had Scotty who finished first, Xander who was T2, Ludwig who was 8th, and Shane Lowry who was T19. So I had 4 guys in the top 20 and then 2 missed cuts. I barely made money on FanDuel in terms of the single entries. I made money on double ups, which was nice. That was no problem at all. And then DraftKings, again, a lot of the same guys. I had Scotty, who was first, Ludwig, who was 8th. I had Doug Ghim, who was T16. We didn't even talk about him, but Doug Ghim has been playing spectacularly. A T16, the players for him is absolutely great. And then I had Benny on, EBR, and then Nico Echevarria, who all missed the cut. So, happens.
It happens.
Into the bets we go. How'd your bets look last week?
They looked spectacular until it all fell apart. So I had, first and foremost, Matt Fitzpatrick to make the cut at -200. Thank gosh that hit. I know you weren't necessarily as high on him, but it made sense coming into it. Looked really good. We had Pavon top 40. Now, let me just say, looked spectacular coming into Friday. He made 3 double bogeys on Friday to knock him out of it. It was so hard to watch. Like, I can't even describe it. So that was frustrating. I had Ben Silverman top 40. That was a loss. Looked really good going into Saturday. Rory top 30 was a winner. Spieth top 40 was a loss. Harmon 49th or better. Goodness gracious. Yeah. Man, I should have done, if you guys know points betting, they used to have a thing where you could play like higher or lower. Imagine if I did lower on that guy. Harmon being also the top left-hander over Higo and McIntyre. I think Higo withdrew after 4 holes, and McIntyre basically played right-handed. And then I had Matthew Pavon over Bo Hostler, 3 double bogeys. It should have been easy because Bo wasn't playing well either. But
yeah, Matthew Pavon had the same score as Nick Dunlap, which was fun because one of them was $1,800 more than the other. So that's an unfortunate one. Again, I said last week Pavon felt like a trap, and he ended up being a trap. So I got lucky. Trust me, I didn't sit there going in feeling great about calling it a trap, but again, it felt very much like Eric Cole at PGA National, aka Honda. And I was just like, this seems like it's just too weird of a situation, and we need to avoid this.
Just before you jump into it, I just want to make sure we recap. Down 1.46 units, still up 22. Yep. It doesn't make. I don't think I've won money in all of March, maybe even a week in April. It does not make sense.
I think you've lost money in like 4 straight weeks, but you're still up 22 units. So I'll trade you. That's all I'll say. As far as my bets go this past week, I went 3 for 6. I had Ludwig Aberg over Alex Noren and Vincent Norman, aka Ludwig Aberg over Alex Noren. That was a nice win. I had Tom Hoagie, top 40 at plus 105. He was 21st through 9 holes on Sunday. He finished T54. And then I had Emiliano Grillo, top 40 at plus 130. He was T17 through 6 holes on Sunday and finished T54th. So that sucks. I had Christian Bezuidenhout over Ricky Fowler. Fowler made the cut, and I think ended up shooting like plus 8 on the weekend. So that was a nice win. I had Scottie over Rory McIlroy. I felt really nice about that one. Again, kind of what I anticipated to play out. Ended up falling out. That was a win. And then I had Benny on top 40, plus 100. That was a loss because, again, he decided to not bring any club other than his putter on Friday. I'm down 0.81 units on the week, and I'm currently positive 4.07. So I've just been hanging out right around that 4 or 5 units up range, which is annoying, but at least it's positive 4 or 5 units up as opposed to negative.
That's a fact.
So, all right. We're going to save the winners picks for last because, we will. Jack, how's your wild card pick go?
Oh my God, it was spectacular. Matthew Pavon, top 10, plus 1,200. That was spectacular. That hit rock bottom. It hit rock bottom.
Hey, you know what? He might have gotten bottom 10. And then at that point, then you might have hit it there.
How is a guy that ranks first in like 6 categories in stroke gains play that bad?
Because
doesn't make sense.
He's only played in like 5 tournaments. So the data was so small that it just didn't have all of his updates for when he plays bad.
Still 20 rounds.
I agree, but again, that's if you need me to come up with an excuse, I don't have one. That's the best one I can come up with. So, I was a similar concept. I had Pavon top 30 plus 250. I didn't have him anywhere else, so I just wanted the little sprinkle of him just in case he decided that it wasn't going to be a trap, and it missed. All right, winners picks. I'll do mine quickly. I had Shane Lowry T19, Emiliano Grillo T54. Jack, take it away.
Yeah, I had Scottie Scheffler, who finished first, and I had Brian Harman, who finished second. So if you did my PGA 3-ball, I just held up 2 fingers like an idiot. If you did my PGA 3-ball, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's hard to do better than that as far as winners picks go. Winner in T2. So that makes it our second winner so far this spring, or I guess in the year technically, because I think I had Sahith in the fall swing, but.
Hey, maybe we should start picking 5 guys each so we get like 12% of the field, and then we'll just say we have winners every week.
I mean, shoot, some guys do that. Some of them get that done that way, but no, we won't do that. We're just gonna keep sticking it with 2, and again, we get you guys.
Yeah, we will.
We get you guys the winners when we can, but we get. I've looked. We've gotten a lot of top 10s in winners picks between the 4 of us. Or between the 2 of us picking 4 guys each week, we have basically a top 10 every week. So you just got to kind of go through and figure out who's going to get that.
All right, new rule, guys. Whatever our winner's pick is, also bet their top 10 odds. As long as they're over 400, you can sprinkle that.
Well, if you look at it, last week we had 3 guys top 20. Those are pretty. That's pretty good odds for as far as winners go. Now again,
The problem is Scottie would have been like minus 240 at top 20. That's the problem.
And that is the challenge, but you gotta take that into account. All right, let's get past the players. Unfortunately, we'll wait another 356-ish days to get back there. We're moving to the Valspar Championship. This is a par 71 totaling 7,340 yards. Last year's winner is Taylor Moore, which is not the first name you think of when you think of PGA Tour golfers with winners, but good for Taylor. We are going back to the Snake Pit. That is what Valspar is most known for. It's the stretch of holes down there. Most of the holes on this golf course are going to be extremely difficult and will lead to bad scoring. There's 3 par 5s that people get a majority of their basically birdies on. It's holes 1, 11, and 14. Outside of that, you're going to get a lot of holes that are basically above average. Like, if it's par 4, they're going to be closer to like 4.3. So there's going to be more bogeys than birdies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is ranked as one of the 3 toughest driving courses on the PGA Tour every year since 2015. Average driving accuracy is about 57% if you're looking for the statistics. Over 50% of approach shots are going to come from 175 yards or more this week. You will either need to be really good in the field on approach, or you're going to be able to you're going to have to need to basically scramble and make up and downs all day. There's going to be no in between there. If you're interested, you can start to look at some comp courses. Charles Schwab, aka the Colonial, is one that I see some data on. I don't love getting into the comp course area. I think it gets kind of messy and disgusting. But this is one of those courses where Colonial has a lot of comparisons. So I don't blame you if you want to go with that route. All right. Any thoughts? Are we getting right to DraftKings lineups?
Yeah, I was going to just follow up, kind of summarize what you're saying. It's really a ball striker's paradise. If you can go tee to fairway, fairway to green, you're going to score well here. If you mishap even by a little bit, it's going to penalize you. And I think that's one of the beauties of this course. I think the casual fan may not love this event, obviously, as much as like a Players or like a British Open, the Open. Don't come at me.
Yeah.
Obviously, major. It's kind of the same, like that open layout. This is going to be that ball striker, tee, fairway, green, 2-putt, take your par, get a birdie when you can, and call it a day.
Yeah, before Taylor Moore last year, Sam Burns won this event twice in a row, and then prior to him, Paul Casey won this event twice in a row. And those are both guys that are basically prime examples of big-time ball strikers that can have streaky weeks as far as, putting and around the green play. And so it makes sense that they would thrive in these types of in this type of a course. All right, into the DraftKings pricing we go. We are going to rank the 11 and the 10K together because there's only one 11K guy. Xander at 11,200, all the way to Jordan Spieth at 10,200. What do you got?
Xander Schauffele.
Yeah.
I mean, he's proven time and time again, and I'll say it, and I'm sorry in advance, he's the most consistent player on tour, tee to green. Now, I know there's a stat called tee to green. Don't come at me. What I'm saying is, from tee to green, that guy has no flaws. Like, every part of his game is solid. And I think that coming into this, he's got 4 top 10s, 3 top 5s, something like that.
Yeah.
This is once you get past like Brian Harmon, this field goes, and I think that he's going to at least finish in the top 15. I mean, I don't think it's out of reach for this guy. And I think that 11,200 comparatively for the field is honestly not a terrible price, because the guys below him, Burns, even though he's on a heater, can be very streaky. Thomas, been on a heater, can be streaky. Spieth did not play well last week at all. So you're taking, all the top guys in this range and giving me Xander Schauffele at a $300 price jump to Burns, which I think the casual DFS player is going to go, Burns, I remember he won this event twice. Click.
Yeah, to answer your question, Xander has 5 top 10s so far since the Century. So 10th at the Century, third at the Amex, 9th at the Farmers, 4th at the Genesis, and then again 2nd last week at the Players.
Just add what number to what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, he was T54 at AT&T Pebble Beach. That was affected due to weather. He was on the wrong side of the draw, and then he had a T25 at the API, which I would consider therefore his worst. Again, I think Xander is going to be an extremely safe choice. I don't know if he's winning this week, but again, I think you can probably get another top 20 from him easily, which is why it makes sense to get him at 11,200. I don't hate going back to Justin Thomas. He missed the cut last week because of the putter. He lost almost 4 strokes putting, which was not like him. But he's played here 6 times, and he has 5 top 18 finishes here at Valspar. I think it's quite similar to what we would anticipate out of Xander, just with an $800 price discount. Now, again, you could argue that the consistencies are maybe slightly different, but I would be okay taking a chance as well on JT $800 cheaper if you can't get up to Xander because of the price point.
Yeah, I don't hate JT at all. One of the only concerns I have with JT is it didn't look good from the start. Now, granted, putter was just lightning off, like miles off.
Yeah.
But in a spot where Thomas could have excelled with the ball striking that he has built in, it was really scary to see. I think Burns could also be a really good play. He's dominating this week. This is the best I've ever seen him coming into it. Now, on Friday, he had to make par to make the cut, and he made a miraculous par and scrambled for 2 more days and got up top on the leaderboard, which was tremendous to watch. I'm not saying it's worth 10,900 per se when you have guys below that, but I'm saying it's also, I mean, all 4 of these guys, they rightfully deserve to be up here. I think Harman should be in the 10K range too. But
I actually think somebody else should be other than Harman as well, but that's just me. But no, Sam Burns, this is going to be an interesting take, but he's turning himself into like Patrick Cantlay of like a month ago, where he would have 3 really good rounds and then he would fall apart on one of those rounds, usually Sunday, but sometimes it's another day. So I'm okay with him this week. And I think he's going to, first round leader. Sure. Yeah. Give me Sam Burns. That'd be great. But like, I'm worried come Sunday that he's going to go from like battling for contention to win to like T25, which again, a T25 is an okay number. But I think with all 4 of these guys, they have such good winning upside that T25 is not necessarily what you're looking for as far as this range. I don't know. As far as ranking goes in this range, I would go probably Xander 1, JT 2, Sam Burns 3. I think JT though is actually pushing Xander in my mind of like a 1B to Xander's 1A.
I honestly, this is crazy to say, but I think they're ranked 4 correctly. I got Xander, Burns, Justin Thomas, Spieth. I think DraftKings hit it on the nail.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave that 10K range where it is. Let's go into the 9K range, starting with Brian Harman at 9,800 to Minwoo Lee at 9,000.
Okay, so how was Brian Harman in the 9K and not the 10K on a spot where ball striking is pertinent? That does not make sense.
Because he's Brian Harman and his name is not flashy. That is all it is. I completely agree with you. He's been playing spectacular. His ball striking is absolutely elite. The challenge is, who do you swap him with? Spieth?
You don't have to swap him though.
What do you put him at? 10K? So you bump him up $200?
I'd say 10-1.
I mean, $300. I'm not breaking home.
Like pre-model prediction on what Brian Harman would have been on DraftKings, I would have said 10-1. Because look at the field.
$300 off though is not something I feel like at that point we're cutting hairs. Like I don't think it's that much.
I think he deserves it.
Yeah, I think it's close, and I think that they therefore put him in a spot close. So I'm not mad at 9,800 because again, I was thinking, right around 10K makes sense for him, and that's pretty much where he is. So I get it. Ball striking paradise, he's a good option. I'm going to talk about Cam Young because he's a really interesting option here. He's gained 9 strokes ball striking in each of his last 3 tournaments, but he's also lost about 9 strokes around the green and putting. Which is very interesting. So again, the 50-50 side is going to be extremely interesting this week. He has the upside with the ball striking being spectacular, but it's what is the short game going to do? So I think Cam Young is going to be a very boom bust option. If you're in one of those where like first place wins all the money, he's probably worth potentially getting to at 9,600. Other than that, I think there's definitely some high risk, high reward with him.
And you think he's the guy that should be in the 10K?
No, I just think he's an interesting option. Guy I think could be at the 10K is Tony Finau. I think Tony Finau is very interesting. 3 top 20s in his last 4 starts. He's also 7 for 7 here with a solo second and a T4. He's also gained strokes putting in each of his last 3 weeks, which Tony doesn't normally do. If Tony's gaining strokes putting, then things are looking dangerous, and he's kind of propped up to eventually win here soon. If I didn't already pick him at Mexico, I really liked him this week. But I think 9,300 is a great price for him.
Yeah, you could definitely get him. I personally, if course history wasn't a thing, I don't know why Nick Taylor's here. I mean, yes, I know he won 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, 4 or 5 weeks ago. Yep.
5 weeks ago, yeah, whatever it is.
Waste management. Yep.
Yeah. Won there at Waste Management, obviously played well. He's just not, I mean, listen, like I said, field tank off. You have Minwoo Lee, who shouldn't be 9K. We've talked about him all year. He's a hype guy. He's a baiter. Like, this might be the Matthew Pavon trap of this year or this tournament. Minwoo Lee, when people get up on him, they ride the roller coaster. He flattens down. He rides it. I love Minwoo Lee. He's the chef. I'm a huge fan of. Follow him on social media. He's hilarious. But Nick Taylor and Minwoo Lee feel like those guys that they just kind of went, I don't know what to do with this guy. We could put him at 7,500. We could put him at 9K. Let's stick him at 9K, and maybe people will bite on him. I really don't know.
Nick Taylor's an interesting one. Again, he's on a heater, and I think that's why they're doing what they're doing. He's got the win in Phoenix, the T39 at Genesis, T12 at the API, T26 at the Players, basically all because of his ball striking. So I think that the DraftKings is kind of looking at that and being like, it's a ball striking place to win. He's a really good ball striker right now. Let's just boost him up a little. Why not? He is top 25 as well on tour and scrambling, which again could also be very useful here. And he's got the iron play to back it up. So I think that they're kind of pre-firing the win on this one, saying that Nick Taylor could be a dangerous one this week if he ends up winning. But I think they might be jumping the gun slightly, in my opinion. I think is he a decent option? Sure. Is he my first choice in this 9K range? No.
So. I can see what you're saying. I think that probably Harmo and Finau are the two safest bets. I do think Cam Young, like you had mentioned, has the most boom bust potential. Yep. I think his ball striking is elite, but like you had said earlier, it's if you can get up and down in this course, you will somehow make the cut. And Cam Young has proven that it is a flip of a coin when it comes to those metrics from 15 yards and in. So if he can hit greens, it's really good. 9,600 is a reasonable price. But for me, the two safest picks are Harmo and Finau.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think Harman. Yeah, I agree. I think it's some combination of Harman and Finau, and then probably Cam Young and Nick Taylor are behind them. So, all right, into the 8K range we go. We're starting with Keith Mitchell at 8,900, all the way down to Patrick Rodgers at 8,000.
I love Patrick Rodgers this week. I think that this guy, I won't spoil it for everybody, but I think that Patrick Rodgers may have a sneaky week. I think he is, in terms of ball strikers, and I think you may agree on this, one of the most slept on guys. Like one's Patrick Rodgers. I love you. I am a golf diehard. So don't take this coming from me. I think if you walk down TPC Sawgrass and poked a guy on the shoulder and said, here's a lineup of 30 golfers, who the heck is Patrick Rodgers?
No shot.
Without a golf hat, no shot.
Yeah.
No shot. He looks like a fraternity bro. Love him, but he is one of the most underappreciated ball strikers in this generation.
Yeah.
Hot take, I know, because I mean you could name 500 guys, but he is so good at ball striking. The problem he comes into is, like you had said about Sam Burns, he goes 64, 68, 68, 74. And it's that one round that 3/4 of his tournaments take him from that 9th place to 29th or 50th or whatever the case is, depending on the event. If he can minimize that and utilize that ball striking to go not 64, but 69, 68, 71, 70, that's going to put him, if you ask me, at flat 8K, that's top 30, top 40.
Yeah, I've gotten burned on him betting a couple times. He always plays well and then falls apart with that one round. So is he going to combust with that one bad round and basically blow it for you if you put him in your lineup, or if you put him in a bet, whatever the case may be. I like Christian Bezuidenhout, 8,800. So he's gained on approach every week on tour since the Shriners last fall. If you're looking for a tournament number, I think that's his last like 9 tournaments. He's like 60th in scrambling, which isn't great, but he's top 30 on tour in every approach category over 150 yards, which is absolutely spectacular this week. With the way the par 4s and the par 5s go, you're going to have a ton of shots between 150 and 225 yards. 175 and 225 yards even. So Christian Bezuidenhout being as great in those as he is, it's spectacular. I think he's extremely dangerous this week, and I'm sure we'll talk more about him later. I will also talk about Doug Ghim. Doug Ghim at 8,400. He's got 5 consecutive top 16 finishes. His stroke gained metrics are basically one giant big green highlighter. The guy has just gained on absolutely everything under the sun, including at least 3 strokes gained ball striking in each of his last 6 events. Personally, again, just based on metrics, I think he ranks 2nd overall in this field, probably behind Xander. I understand that is a wild take, but just based on recent form and how he's done recently. Now, I'm not saying that like year over year he's better than JT or Spieth, but again, in recent form, looking at his last like 20 rounds, Doug Ghim is one of the best statistical players in this field. Jack thinks I'm out of pocket on that one.
I love Doug Ghim. I don't have a problem with Doug Ghim. I just think, well, okay, so we have like a 5-minute debriefer before we jump on the pod. Like, we don't share notes. Like, everything that you guys hear back and forth is live. Like, I know that's not popular for podcast. We work too many hours. But the reality of it is, I love Doug Ghim. The conversation that he led was, I think Doug Ghim's probably the 2nd best player in the field. And I go, what? Like, you're talking about future Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, contention Hall of Famer, minimal chance Hall of Famer, minimal chance Hall of Famer, and then Doug Ghim. And I was like, whoa, pause here. Now there's some more elaboration.
Again, I think that Xander is always going to be is always going to be one of the top like 3 players on the field. Xander's got it. But based on the last like 5 to 6 tournaments or 20 rounds or however you want to map it out, Doug Ghim is statistically the 2nd best golfer in this field. And that is all there is to it.
Hey, again, I'm a big fan of Doug Ghim. Grew up right next to us. Played golf with him for many years. So I'm a big fan of him. You're not going to ever get me to make a bad statement about my boy Ghim or Nick Hardy.
There you go. Last thing I'll mention, because I like one more name in this AK range, Maverick McNeely at 8,100. I think the injury concerns are officially a thing of the past. He has basically accumulated 3 top 13 finishes in his last 5 events. Had one of the best, again, I said this a little bit, but I'll say it again just because I want to reiterate it. He had one of the best around the green performances of the last few years last week at the Players, gaining over 8 strokes gained around the green. Another thing about Maverick McNeely is he actually ranks 15th on tour in scrambling, so he's really good there as well. Now his iron play from 175 to 225 isn't spectacular, but again, you're kind of relying on all of the other metrics with Maverick McNeely, not just that iron play.
I don't hate it. I think Maverick, I mean, you saw it, like you had said, around the green was spectacular. Obviously, Sunday he clearly had the yips, but still finished a great performance at the Players. I mean, that guy's a stud. It's hard because from an outside perspective, you take a guy that has the over-the-top motion like Victor Hovland trying to get in that slot. You do create, and a lot of players talk about it. And I think that's what Spieth is trying to revert back to, is that motion where you're getting in the slot and you can whip your wrist through. And sorry, that's technical, but trying to get to that spot where you have consistent contact versus those variations. And I think that Mav right now, at least in the irons and the fairway wood, had those variations.
Nerd.
Sorry.
Sorry, did I say it out loud? No.
I'm sorry. Do you look at my wall? That's nerd.
Yeah, Jack has no problem being the nerd of golf. That is what he calls his thriving place. All right, I think we're pretty good there on the 8K range. I feel like we went through most of that range, in all honesty.
Yeah.
All right.
Keegan Bradley, just throw him out there.
Yeah, Keegan's good. I think Mitchell too with his distance isn't awful here, but again, it's just he's kind of middling in that sense. 7K, we're starting Seb Straka, 7,900, all the way down to Rio Hitsune at 7,000.
Okay, Taylor Moore should not be 7,800. I can tell you that. I know he's a former winner. I know that's like this guy has made every single cut. His worst finish, obviously, is the Farmers. He finished 70th, but that's Torrey Pines, Valspar.
Yeah.
What? That's like not even a comp. That's like USA and frickin' Saudi Arabia. Like the difference is astronomical.
You couldn't have picked anybody else, like a San Martin or like any other out of pocket one. You had to go straight to Saudi Arabia. All right, well, keep going.
The reality or reason why is because talk about golf nerd. My smart TV here set up is I know everybody has those like pop-ups that come up when their TV is idling.
Yeah.
Mine are golf pictures. So I saw, yeah. As you can
Nerd.
imagine, the famous course. Yeah. Anyway, Taylor Moore is really consistent. He's, no offense to Taylor, no offense, love you. Hope to have you in the pod soon. He's not winning this week.
Yeah.
He's not winning. But he's so solid. He is such a stick all around. Like he's not immaculate in any category, but in reference to measurements in terms of tee to green, he's solid everywhere. Like 1,700 is honestly disrespectful. I'll be honest. Like I think he should be at least $600, $700 more.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor Moore's an interesting one for sure. Again, because he won this last year, he's made 6 of his 6 cuts. I don't know if I like him more than a Mav or more than a Ghim or more than I definitely don't like him more than Ghim or Bez. So I just don't know like where you move him up to.
I'm not necessarily replacing him. I just think that price. I mean, I think it was the same price at the Players with a field that was 5 times as strong.
Yeah, I guess in my head though, at what point are we just bumping everybody up and making it more hard to get people, which is another challenge. So I get it. He's a good price here at 7,800. I don't know if I can. I think it's kind of hard to get to this high 7K range just based on how most lineups are being like built. But he's definitely an interesting option there for sure. If you want like a Walmart Sahith Theegala or a Walmart Cam Young, Taylor Montgomery is kind of like that. He's really What?
He's kind of popping off.
I know he's really streaky, but he's really relying on his putter, which is just not a consistent metric to follow. It's terrifying how much it is having to sit there and be like, well, is the putter going to show up this week for Montgomery? The world will never know, but we'll try our best. The other 7K guy I don't totally dislike is Adam Schenk at 7,100. He finished second here last year. He gained 7.4 strokes putting during that run. He's also been consistently around the cut line in each of his last 4 starts, and he had a T17 in Phoenix. Is it a flashy play? No, but again, you're right at basically the 7K number. Just kind of looking for a made cut, and he's right there on that line. There's a lot of bad options, in my opinion, all around him that make for some bad minefields.
Yeah, I don't hate that one at all. The other guy that I'm probably going to get to is Thornbjorn Olesen. Now, he bit me in a rose bush the last time I played him. I understand that. But I think this is a field that at 7,600, number one, he should make the cut. He should make the cut.
Should.
He's one of the best ball strikers in the DP World Tour. He's proved he can get to like 50 under over 4 rounds. So the birdies aren't the issue. And I think he's going to capitalize on those 3 par 5s. If he can make all 4 rounds, I think he can get 8 or 9 under out of those par 5s. The problem is bogey avoidance, which he's proven on the PGA Tour is a little bit streaky. I don't know if that's nerves. I don't know if he's working through something. I know there was reports on both tournaments that he played. There was like guys with the flu, guys with COVID, guys with all these other things. I have no information if that affected him outside perspective. I think 7,600 for a guy that's dominated on the DP World Tour, dominated all of the rankings. I think it's worth a flyer, especially in this event. That's the only other guy, and it sucks to not be able to get to Rio Hisasune. I just think this course is a little long for him because he's my boy. It's a little long for him.
Yeah, this isn't a good course for Rio. I agree. I had him in my lineup at one point, but it just didn't make sense. This isn't the one that fits his style. So we'll leave him be. We'll put him in a couple weeks when he's in the next tournament. So into the 6K range we go. Victor Perez at 6,900 all the way down to there's a lot of 6K. Wee. Michael Kim Yeah, wow. I'm surprised he's at 6K. I think he was like 9,000 last time we saw him, but okay. All right, who do you like in the 6K range?
Only one guy that I'm sticking my name to, Chan Kim.
Ooh.
Guy's so cool. I love Chan Kim. He's awesome. If you go to YouTube after this,
Or when you're done
after
watching
finishing.
our video on
Okay,
YouTube.
if you're on Spotify, go watch the YouTube one. And if you're on YouTube, finish this, then go to Spotify, listen, then go back to YouTube and look up Chan Kim. Guy's a baller. He's probably going to be the next. I'm not even going to say it. He's a star. Let me just say it. He's coming.
I'll say it like this. If you're on Spotify, drop us a follow on Spotify and then go to YouTube and then watch on YouTube, but subscribe to us on YouTube. It's just a little red button down in the bottom right side. And then when you're done with that, then go check out Chan Kim highlights in the search bar. Appreciate it.
That guy has so much fun. It's like, okay, so if you can imagine, actually, it's going to sound terrible if I say this. So I'm not going to say it.
We'll just leave the viewers to check out Chan Kim. We won't dig too deep into it. If
awesome.
we ever get him on the podcast, then we'll do it. Deal?
Good luck. But he's awesome. He's so funny. Go look him up. He's hilarious. But he's been playing really well outside of like 1 week at the Farmers and Sony Open. He had 8th at Mexico Open, 14th at the Amex, 28th at the Honda Classic. Not calling it Cognizant. You will not pay me money to call it Cognizant. 6,200 for a ball striker like that. And by the way, he's got dink dongs off the tee. Like, oh my goodness gracious. Like, he's been working on some things. I think at that price point, he's worth. I mean, you have the guys surrounding him. Gary Woodland.
Yep.
Barely made one cut. You have Garrett Kigo, who's withdrawing. You have Bud Cauley, who just goes like first, and then Sunday, it's like he goes binge drinking on Saturday. Ooh, that was a bad comment. Don't do that, kids. Kuchar, 1 for 6 on cuts. It's just weird. And I already bit Ben Silverman last week at 6,500. Maybe I go back to him this week. I don't know.
All right, Jack's got a lot of names in there. I'm going to talk about just a couple. Victor Perez at 6,900. He was 3rd in Puerto Rico his last time out. He's 2nd only to Scottie Scheffler in greens and regulation. Any statistic where you can only be losing to Scottie Scheffler in is usually a pretty good sign. Usually means you're pretty good at it. With him
is that
being
quantity or percentage?
Should be percentage. He hasn't played that much, so I don't think he has the quantity, or at least as much as most people.
Yeah.
So again, with greens and regulation, a lot of that will end up being his iron play, which is great. The other guy I'll mention is 6,700 Mackenzie Hughes. He began the season with a 25th place finish at the Century, and he's only really missed 1 cut in his last 6 starts. So it's not necessarily a flashy option. And by the way, I think the miscut was at Mexico too, which is a fluky event in and of itself. But outside of that, he's played good at the Century, good at the Farmers, good at the Genesis, and good at the API. Again, those are all pretty high class events in my mind. I think those aren't exactly weak fields. And this week isn't exactly that weak of a field, which is why I feel pretty good with him at 6,700, just making a cut.
I like it. I have no one else I want to call out. So
even in the 5K range, you don't have a soul?
I could get one.
I mean, I have one that I thought you would be intrigued by because you have him, but I can hold off if you have a specific stat about him that you're trying to.
Talk about Ricky Castillo?
Yeah, the 5 straight top 20s on the Corn Ferry Tour.
That's why I said I only have one guy.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't have anybody.
5 straight 20s on the Corn Ferry. This guy is dominating, and in most of the events, he's like 66, 66, 67, 68. Guy can go low. Now, granted, this event's not going to 30 under. We all know that. We all know that going into it. It's not going to 30 under. But if that guy can score and make some really good birdies, it's going to offset those weird bogeys that these guys get when they come up from the Corn Ferry to the PGA Tour. They make a bad mistake trying to be a hero. And if he can make those birdies, it's going to offset those compound errors. 5,900. Not the worst guy in the world to get to at that range.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 95% of this 5K range, I don't want to touch with a 50-foot pole. I think this is a really bad 5K range. Aaron Wise is interesting just because of the whole injury issue. He didn't play great his first round back in Puerto Rico, but he actually shot 1 under on a second round. So it may have just been, a little practice round, getting himself set up the first day. He has a chance to make the cut here, but you're really kind of taking a 50-50 shot in the dark on what Aaron Rise is going to show up. We don't know if the injury is fully healthy yet either. So there's just a lot of questions as far as what Aaron Wise you're really going to end up seeing. So, all right. Into the DraftKings lineups we go. You want to go first?
Yeah, let's do it. I have Xander Schauffele at the top, 11,100 or 11,200. Excuse me. I bit the bullet. I went Brian Harman, 9,800. I think that he's got a really good shot. Going not back-to-back top twos, but I think he's a safe play.
Yeah.
Bez, 8,800. Patrick Rogers, 8K. Chan Kim at 6,200. Then my boy Ricky Castillo, 5,900.
There you go. Yeah, you got some interesting options this week. Again, I think Castillo is a true 50-50 because there's absolutely zero data on him in the Corn Ferry Tour. You are fully relying on the 5 top 20s, which is great.
I'm relying on full nerdage of watching Corn Ferry event highlights on my off time or post-run events or live, whatever the case is. I'm a nerd. I'm watching it. You know it.
That's fair. All right. For my DraftKings lineups, I'm starting off Justin Thomas, 10,400. Then I'm going to Tony Finau at 9,300. I'm going Doug Ghim, 8,400. Maverick McNeely, 8,100. Adam Schenk, 7,100. And Mackenzie Hughes at 6,700. So kind of a balanced lineup, it feels like, but I feel really good, especially about those like top 4. I mean, if between Schenk and Hughes, if one of them makes a cut, I'm feeling pretty good about the week.
I don't hate it at all.
Yeah. So we'll see. All right. To FanDuel.
Let's go ahead and get it. My FanDuel lineup is top heavy.
Yeah.
It is a little crazy. So Xander Schauffele, 12,300. Brian Harman, 11,100. Christian Bezuidenhout, 10K flat. Patrick Rogers, 9,800. I guess it's the same 4 guys. I did go Taylor Monty at 9,600, and I went Evan Harmeling, 7K, who is a Corn Ferry guy, played in Puerto Rico, finished top 10, talked about how he felt absolutely zero pressure being on the PGA Tour, and he felt like he was more frustrated. The weirdest thing I've ever heard. He was frustrated being in the Corn Ferry Tour because he felt he deserved to be on the PGA Tour, and he was frustrated and he would get mad on the Corn Ferry events, even when playing well. When he got to the PGA Tour, he goes, I've never felt more comfortable on a golf course in my life. 7K, base rate, I don't know, flyer. Have fun with it.
It's an interesting. I feel like that one is more for the story than anything else.
That is not betting advice.
Yeah. That's more of a story play than anything else with Evan. I mean, it's very interesting that that's the case that it is with him, but that makes for a fun time. For my FanDuel, I went a bit of a different option. Justin Thomas, 11,900. Tony Finau, 11,500. Doug Ghim, 9,700. Maverick McNeely, 9,600. Victor Perez at 8,800. And Mackenzie Hughes at 8,500. So again, kind of a pretty mellow, smooth sailing lineup outside of maybe JT and Finau. So we'll see what happens.
I like it. Now, everybody's favorite portion of the week. If I don't win money on these bets, I might dye my hair like bleach blonde or like Masters green or something. But first couple are safe. Keegan Bradley made cut was -200. For a guy that calibrate Keegan Bradley, I saw those odds. He's a stick. He's got the putter. He's got the chipping. He's not missing the cut. -200. I saw those odds. I had to take it. Brian Harman, top 40, -165. That guy was a stick. I don't know if everybody saw how good he was at the Players. That guy is freaking good. And in a field like this, if he can hit top 40, he's on the new do not bet list once again. Xander Schauffele, top 20 at -150. He's on some bucks top 20 at like what? What did we talk about like a half hour ago? -230?
-230, yeah, -240, one of those.
It's crazy. Go to Bet365 to get that one. I think that's where I got it. -150. Here we go. Christian Bezuidenhout, top 51 at -120. It's already moved to, what did we talk about right before? 46, 47,
yep,
something
46.
like that. I think that guy is going to make it. This is solid. Basically, in this event, I think if you make the cut, it's all about bogey avoidance, and this guy's really good. Patrick Rogers, 53rd or better at minus 120. This guy has been a stick the last couple weeks. He's done really well outside of, I think, 1 or 2 weeks out the whole year. I think he's hit this like 80% throughout the season. I really like it. Thorbjorn Olesen, 54th or better at minus 120. Unfortunately, did not have a made cut line at the time of this podcast recording. Otherwise, I would have felt a lot better about that.
Yeah.
But I think 54th for a guy of that caliber at minus 120. Yes, has he bit me in the butt before? Yes. Has he not proven himself in the PGA Tour? Yes. But this is the field. I think this is an event that he can shine. And I think 54th is pretty reasonable.
I think it's top 65 in ties to make the cut. So he's basically got to make the cut and beat,
20 people,
15 guys-ish or so.
Yeah. And then my last one, my solo plus odds, which feels like a lock. Xander Schauffele, Jordan Spieth, Brian Harman to make the cut plus 105.
It should be a lock, but again,
should and are two different things.
Yeah, Spieth should also made the cut last week, and he didn't. So we'll see. No, you've got some interesting ones in there for sure. Again, I like the Xander bet. I love the Bez bet. You feel really confident about Keegan. You were also really confident about Pavon last week. I don't know about Eric Keegan, but again, he's too good of a golfer. Yeah, he's too good of a golfer that number shouldn't hit. So again, I see a positive week out of you this week. All right, for my bets, I've got 5 this week. I'm going to start with some of my favorites. First one, Christian Bezuidenhout over Garrick Higgo. Jack kind of talked about Higgo already. I think the guy's withdrawn out of each of the last 3 tournaments. So I locked that one in already. So if Higgo withdraws, I will take my free money and run. But no, that one I feel really good on, especially because Bez is Bez. I've got Tony Finau top 30 at minus 115. I've got Doug Ghim over Patrick Rogers at minus 125. That's one that Jack almost took Patrick Rogers over Doug Ghim and going the other way, which would have been pretty funny. And then I have Justin Thomas top 20 at plus 100 and Maverick McNeely top 40 at plus 110. So the fact that I got plus odds on him there, I kind of love that.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think I was a little surprised to not see a Ghim Reap replacement bet. Little surprised to not see him in another spot of yours, considering he is number 2 in your model.
Yep.
But I think it's time we jump down to wild cards because obviously after a winner's week like last week at the Players, we got to save the best for last.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll start with wild cards. My wild card pick is Joel Damon, top 30 at plus 240. He's actually made 3 of his last 4 cuts. He's just been playing better. So this is more so a something for Liam to keep his eye on, wild card pick. Do I feel confident that this is the week he's going to do it? Not necessarily, but again, this is the week where I want to keep an eye on Joel Damon, just because he's been playing so much better.
Yeah, mine is Chan Kim, top 40, plus 250, 14th at the Amex, 8th at Mexico Open, 28th at Honda Classic. Screw you, Cognizant, unless you're a sponsor. We love you. And then he finished 61st at Puerto Rico with a 77. So this guy can go low. He has a little bit of streakiness, but I think top 40 in this field is doable.
Yeah, you don't got to convince me. I was a fan of Chan Kim 2-3 weeks ago, so I'm all aboard the Chan Kim bandwagon for sure. All right, to winners we go. You have interesting winners.
I have number 1, Xander Schauffele.
Yep.
I think this is a really good week for him. Obviously, I talk about him being the most consistent tee to green. I think this is going to be. He's been right there a couple times. He's been right there, and I think he's like, I need to frickin' win one. And I know that story and morale and all that line doesn't necessarily play into it, but I think if you take a look at the field, it's 5 guys, a tier, 5 guys. I guess I should go this way. And then a tier, and then 5 guys, and then a tier. So I think he's number 1 in the field by a good margin. And I think that if you're going to pick Xander to win in a couple events, this might be a good one. And then I do have Patrick Rogers. He's proven he can finish in top 10 at multiple events. And I think if ball striking holds and he can get somewhere near tee to fairway, fairway to green on, let's call it 60 of the 72 holes, that's going to put him in contention because he doesn't make a ton of bogeys outside that one round. And if he can avoid that, that's pretty much a lock for top 20. Just about that one round. Whatever it happens, it's happening.
Yeah. Again, I love the Xander pick. I don't know if it makes sense for anybody that uses somebody just one time a year to put Xander in here. But again, I probably would have done it if I had the ability to pick it a couple different times. For my winners picks, I'm going with Cam Young first. So I'm taking the 50-50 upside play. Again, with the ball striking, I just got to hope that he finds his putter this week. And then my other winners pick, I actually had Doug Ghim. I've done a little bit of swapping. I ended up putting in Christian Bezuidenhout, which I'm not mad at either option. I honestly thought about going Bez and Doug Ghim.
Number 2 in your model.
Yes.
Number 2 in your model. Where are you putting Doug Ghim that makes more sense as a winner's pick?
I almost thought about doing Doug Ghim and Bez as winners this week. That's where I was, but I also don't know where I'm putting Cam Young or when I'm putting Cam Young somewhere.
Deer run majors.
Well, that's great. Cam Young can go do good in the majors. So can like the 87 live guys that are going to be there too. I can go put.
Well, yeah, but Doug Ghim, you use a guy once a year, and if Doug Ghim is number 2 in your entire model, I just don't understand.
I will say this. Last week, you had Matthew Pavon everywhere under the sun, and it bit you in the ass.
No.
I am worried about that with Doug Ghim on my end. I understand he's ranked highly in the rankings, but I have him in both lineups and a bet. If I put him in the winners as well, I am putting all of my chips on Doug Ghim. Do I think he's good? Yes. Do I think he ranks out second in the model? Yes, based on stats. The last six tournaments. Yes. Does that mean that I'm automatically going to put him in absolutely everything? No. I understand. But just because he ranks out really well and I love him this week doesn't mean I have to pick him as a winner, because I will equally love Bez, and I think Cam Young has the upside to do even better. Jack has walked off. He's not happy with me. I think as a podcast, I hope that somebody else understands that, because you can love somebody and have them in a lot of factors and not want to be overweight on them compared to what you need to. I think Cam Young and Bez have all of the upside to win the tournament, just like a Doug Ghim. It just makes the most sense to have them in there. Yeah, Jack doesn't agree with that. We'll leave it to it. All right. All right.
If I had a guy ranked, if I say Xander Schauffele is ranked number 1, but Doug Ghim is I don't know where you're going to use Doug Ghim again.
I probably won't use Doug Ghim all year. I don't need to. Why do I need to use Doug Ghim when I can use Cam Young and Christian Bezuidenhout? I understand that I have him ranked good this week. It doesn't mean I have to use him, though. I know.
I'll leave it alone.
I know. All right.
I just think it's funny to me hearing you say that this guy's number 2 in my model, and then going to picking the guy that's it's just funny. That's all.
I mean, hey, Scottie is ranked first in every model every week of the year. And we don't pick Scottie every week. I mean, the math is.
We can't.
Exactly. Well, partly, but also because we also know he's not going to win, even though he's ranked highly every week. It just isn't statistically there. So although he's ranked highly, I like him. I have him put in good spots, and I think he's going to win me money and do good in DraftKings and FanDuel. I don't have him picked as a winner because I don't need to have him picked as a winner, because I have 2 other guys I also think are very good. I think Cam Young could probably has top 10 upside in terms of overall in this field. I think Bez has top 12 upside as far as overall upside in this field. And I think they both equally fit this course really good.
Well, all I'll say is let's leave it alone, because I find it funny, not dismissing the pick because I love Cam Young and Bez. I just think it's funny. But this is the Valero, not obviously as famous or as popular, as well-versed as obviously the Players. There's going to be a lot of other things going on. Selection Sunday just happened. First games are tomorrow, or depending on when you're listening, could be even today. So
I will say this. I have I'm going to link in the bio or in the description on the bottom a link to our March Madness pool. Turn Dogs is doing a March Madness pool on ESPN. You can join in, see how you do against Jack and I. Again, we are golf bettors, not college basketball bettors. You may beat us in March Madness. You might not. I don't know. We'll see. Jack and I are pretty competitive when it comes to this stuff. So
I don't know. I bet on everything. So
so it could be an interesting one. But I'm gonna link that in the description and in the bottom. Feel free to join us in that. There shouldn't be any passwords or anything associated with it. So just link it on in, pick whatever bracket you want, and
Venmo me $100 a bracket. No, I'm just kidding.
But no, do that if you have any interest in facing off against the Turn Dogs. So, all right, we will leave you to it. Next week we are at the Houston Open. Happy Valspar, and then happy March Madness week too. Again, I know we're not a college basketball podcast, but I personally really enjoy this week as far as all of the hustle and bustle that goes on within the sports world. I think it makes for a lot of fun.
Who thought to get rid of the Dell match play while we're at it? That freaking idiot. Jay Monahan, screw you.
All right, before Jack gets too hangry, we're gonna end the podcast there. We'll see you next week for the Houston Open, everybody. Doses.